Here we are again, Tom Smith, another edition of Mortgages and BS on the Alive and Social Network. How you feeling today, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a close call of death today, though.
What happened today?
Well, I'm in the office building, and all of a sudden the sirens go off. Next thing you know, we're being kicked out of the building. Fire trucks roll up, and we had like a little electrical oil thing going on in the elevators. We got to stand outside in the mist for a while.
You prone to exaggeration like that? I mean, we go from a little fire, maybe a little electrical thing, something smoke, the fire, and then you began this narrative, this little portion of narrative by saying you almost, if I remember right, you almost lost your life.
Well, whenever there's something like that, you never know how bad it can get. I mean, come on, BT.
It could escalate. I'm all right. I'm with you.
It's kind of like when you go fishing. You never know how big that fish was you had on your line.
All right, I'm following along here.
All right.
You are prone to hyperbole from time to time, though.
Ask my wife. Ask my wife. Ask my wife. She'll tell you.
Tom, he never exaggerates. No. Last week we had Sean Bernard joining in from the Alive and Social Network, and musician Tim Mahoney joining in on the inaugural Mortgages and BS show.
And I have to interject from FPT. Tim was not drunk. I've had at least 10 people ask me.
Timmy was pretty tired.
Yeah, he was not drunk. He's just naturally that.
He really
goofy.
is. He's just loopy.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that for the inaugural Mortgages and BS show, we were imbibing in a few beverages here in the Alive and Social studio. I mean, that's the podcasting world.
That's true.
Try to do it on the broadcast side. The FCC who comes walking in, like, hey, what are you? You're going to lose your license. But here, it's a little bit different story. Today, we're just drinking the water.
Exactly. And the weird thing is, today I'm the little guy in the room too.
You
Yeah, right.
The little guy in the compared to Daryl Thompson, but you're saying you think how much you weighing now?
All right, you're still the little guy in the room.
Come on,
you're still the
here.
little guy in the room.
I'm about 215 right now. Where you at? Come on,
that's my right leg, man.
Okay. Our special guest today is Daryl Thompson. Daryl, good to see you, my friend. Good to have you here.
Hey, I'm glad to be in.
Daryl from his career at the U of M and broadcast work with the U of M Gopher football team and his run with the Green Bay Packers. And I know this is like old history now, so to speak. I mean,
Ancient
class of 90
right.
was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But Daryl's the leader of Boulder Options, a great group that helps at-risk kids here in the Twin Cities area, and we want to dig into a little bit of that with you right now, or during the course of the show, most certainly. How long do you guys go back? Quite a ways, don't you?
I'm going to say close to 15. I think the first time I met Daryl, we were at Joe Sensors, and we were doing a bit with Paul Allen on the Optimum Moment or something like that.
Yeah, I think one of those deals. Yeah.
I think that's the first time I met him, and I was like, what a genuine guy. I mean, I met him for an hour. We had lunch, we talked, and I was what a really nice guy. I mean, just really laid back, down to earth, and I was really impressed by him. And we had some conversations after that. And next thing you know, we might have had a beer together. We might have gone to a basketball game. I don't know. I know we had barbecue together though.
Where'd you have the barbecue at?
We had the barbecue down in Daryl's hometown of Rochester.
All right, Rochester, Minnesota, not New York.
Yeah,
right on.
Midwestern
City, home of the Mayo Clinic.
Midwestern guy here.
And there's a place down there called Hardy's Barbecue. And Daryl said, you got to have it. It's the best barbecue ever. And we went in there, and I remember it wasn't expensive. It was a pile. I mean, let me just tell you, there was a pile on my plate that I was so impressed with. I wanted to take a picture, but I didn't have a camera phone at the time.
We didn't do that back in the day. Now everybody's taking pictures of food and every damn thing. Daryl, is this old school barbecue, sort of like the basket where they put the paper in there and then just pile the meat on?
It's a little bit
of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably more of just a great historic memory for me because the gentleman that ran the joint, his name was John Hardy. He ran it for a long time. Mm-hmm. It was called Hardy's Barbecue, still is called Hardy's Barbecue. He's passed away, and his family doesn't even own it anymore, but they've carried on tradition. It's still good. You got the pulled pork, and they got a little bit of brisket, and they have JoJo potatoes and fried okra. So all those kind of southern barbecue treats are in that spot. And
little cornbread there too.
Oh, they got a little bit of cornbread. Mm-hmm. Those types of things. So I mean, it's definitely a comfort food type of environment.
Oh yeah. Is it all about the sauce at Hardee's too? I mean,
the sauces can get pretty rough. Yeah. For everything from basic to the dare if you try type of deal.
I think it's more about the quantity of the food they give you. Holy cow. I mean, when you look at the different places around town that they have, the famous places, it's joints like this, like Hardee's, man. I mean, you can't beat this stuff. I mean, it's reasonably priced, and the food was phenomenal. And I think Daryl, was your picture on the wall? I can't remember.
Nope, no pictures of like their local people. I mean, they
I
just
thought there was
kinda-
something about all you could eat and you ate too much one time or something.
Probably, probably. I've tried to double down in there a few times.
It's just more of Rochester legend. It's more of a verbal history and storytelling legend rather than a picture.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they talk about Daryl Thompson, or on the sidewalks of Rochester. Oh, well, you've heard of the Hardy story, haven't you?
Yeah,
Well, what's better yet is when you go down there, if you do anything with Daryl and his dad especially, we went out for lunch one time.
yeah.
I never saw somebody on such his best behavior in front of his father. I mean, here's a guy that's an adult, and Dad's got this kid whipped in shape. Remember that we went to what was it, Michael's or something like that?
Oh
for
yeah,
dinner?
that's one of my dad's favorite places.
Yeah, and his dad was like, I mean, I got a kick out of his dad, and I, you learn a lot about people from their parents, and I can tell you, I mean, meeting Daryl's dad, I can see exactly where he got his values and his beliefs from because his dad's really a great guy.
Daryl, tell us about your dad a little bit. I mean, you grew up your whole life in Rochester, Minnesota then?
Yeah,
Or,
we moved to Rochester when I was a baby.
Okay.
So my parents moved to Rochester when I was 1. My parents separated when I was about 5.
Okay.
But I talk about a lot. My dad was fully involved. My dad moved away about 4 blocks in an apartment. Then eventually bought a house. I think like 2 or 3 years later, and we were at his house. We stayed. My brother and sister and I would rotate through staying at his house 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
All the way through high school. So it was a wonderful relationship. We're still
Nice.
very close. I talked to him. Not every day, but I talk to him plenty. And, of course, nowadays with texting and everything. So
Yeah.
he's in town and very involved, and we're lucky he's still pretty healthy.
Yeah.
My dad remarried about 35 years ago. He's got my wonderful stepmother, Terry. She's awesome, but he's a big fan of his grandkids. He's at basketball games, volleyball games, football games, track meets, whatever the kids are involved in. Grandpa is usually there. My wife's got him kind of connected with the technology to the family calendar so he can view and see where everything's at, and he's got the address. And
And he's hip to it. He uses it and he works it. And you can text him and he gets right back to you and all that
he
kind
worked
of
at
stuff.
IBM
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
long
Oh, okay.
time. This is my kind of funny favorite story about my dad. I use it when I tell kids in speeches about listening to your parents. And so my dad told me in, I think it's about 7th grade, he said, you know what, son? One day, every desk is going to have a computer on it. And I looked at, I thought,
Yeah, Dad.
that's about the stupidest thing that I ever heard, So not only do we have a computer, you got a laptop, I got a cell phone, I got a tablet, I got a mini tablet, So I mean, I try to do it in front of him, make sure he feels good about it. So yeah, you were on the cutting edge. He's always, whatever new gadget is coming out, he's on it.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, given that background at IBM, he's been on that techno side of things his whole career, his whole life. Yeah.
Well, and he finished his life on the nonprofit sector. So the
that
last
right?
10 years, he was the executive director of the Diversity Council in Rochester, working on educating people about the minorities and trying to make things better for them. So that was kind of also part of where I think I got a little bit of the blood of me for the nonprofit sector. Besides, in my very, very early years, there was always kids around the house that my dad and my mom were mentoring. Both
Yeah.
of my parents were phenomenally involved in mentoring and being involved in the lives of young people.
Obviously, that influence played right into what you're doing right now with the mentorship program.
I've got a really important
That's
question
cool.
for you, Daryl, because you mentioned the thing about how your dad supports the grandkids and stuff in sports and junk like that, and you probably know where I'm going with this one. But does he ever cheer for Wisconsin?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm just wondering. For those that don't know, Daryl's daughter played volleyball for the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and quite a phenomenal player, actually. And I know I've joked with you about it. If you've cheered and you say, "Well, I don't quite there, but I'm there."
Yeah.
You got to be careful because you're maroon and gold. So
Oh, I cheer for her, and my dad cheered for her. Dominique was a middle hitter for the University of Wisconsin, and had a really nice career. So we're very proud of her. She finished as an All-American, and is trying to maybe play professionally overseas. So we'll see how that goes. It's just different with volleyball and with women. The payout isn't as exciting as it would be if she was an All-American football player or anything like that. So
How old is Dominique now? 22, 23? Or
she's 22,
Yep.
and she has she got a degree in nonprofit and organizational
wow.
leadership.
So again, the fruit not falling too far from the tree once over.
I was trying to
again.
kick it up. I was trying to kick it out there a little ways, but she's it's in her heart and it's in her mind, so I'm very proud of her.
How about her grandpa's influence on her? Did you feel that thread not only running through you, but coming from grandpa to her as well?
I think from both my my mother and my father, Dominique has a lot of that in her. I think all of our kids do. So we unfortunately lost my mom about 13 years ago to cancer, but I mean, I still think about her every day, and I think our kids remember. But certainly, Grandpa has had a big impact on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely thing.
That's a blessing.
Very, very something to be filled with great pride about. Yeah.
Now we talk about the nonprofit stuff, and you already alluded to it a little bit how you know with your dad and stuff like that. We were reading the deal about the class of '90, and you and I talked about this, and they were talking about what happened, where people are at, and they had a very, and as I said, it was so just kind of clean that you had a very easy adaptation going from professional football to the real world, as you might call it. Because you'd already been dealing with nonprofits when you were younger, like in college and stuff like that, and you kind of already had a passion for that and knew where you wanted to go, where a lot of guys didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in college, I think you want to find what you're excited about and what your passion is. And we talk about that a lot at Boulder Options. What is your spark? What makes you excited? What is it? Computers? Is it TV? Is it the podcasting? Is it radio? Whatever it is. Find a way to get closer to it and make it so you can kind of own it and be around it. And I think for me, it was youth and being involved with kids and mentoring and role modeling and having fun with them and trying to show them a little bit better way. And I mean, a lot of times for us and for kids, especially at Boulder Options, it's about listening. A young person has an opportunity to tell you what they're thinking, and you can listen to it for a long time, and then usually give them some advice. And a lot of times, once someone says something out loud, they might decide that maybe it isn't such a good idea to go purchase a gun or to do those type of things. And I've had conversations like that with kids over the years. Sometimes they're really exciting conversations, and sometimes they're a little bit nerve-wracking, and you're realize that you're a little bit honored that someone's opening up to you the way that they are.
I don't want to generalize at-risk youth, but you bring up the whole adult listening to a kid thing right here as probably the most important leg of the stool. Is that by and large probably the biggest thing that kids that you're working with are looking for or really need, is just that, an adult that actually is listening to them?
I think they need that, and they also need access. A lot of times, I think when you look at kids, my kids, I mean, they've had access to things that a lot of kids might not have had opportunity to have access to, be it radio, TV, jobs, careers. If my kid said he wanted to be a policeman, I know a policeman. If he said he wanted to be an investment banker, I know an investment banker. If he said he wants to be a lawyer, I know a lawyer. And for a lot of times, the kids they might have a more limited access. They don't have those opportunities, and they see maybe a quicker way to make a buck. And it's only quick for a little while. You don't know any old drug dealers or gang members.
Well, and that kind of falls into the mentorship program, too, for Boulder Options, doesn't it? I mean,
yes.
With that kind of stuff. For people that don't really understand what Boulder Options is, and obviously I know a little bit because I was involved with you on that a little bit, just give a 2-minute overview of it for us.
Well, basically, Boulder Options is an activity-based mentoring program. So we use running, biking, tutoring, and homework as a vehicle to get involved in kids' life, and we set 3 goals. So you set one physical goal, you set one educational goal, you set one goal that you set on your own, that you're going to work towards those goals. And we talk about in our mission statement, our mission statement is to introduce kids to a healthy lifestyle. So we have what we call our Healthy Habits curriculum. So every other week over the course of a year, speakers come talk to kids about health, goal setting, sexuality, anger management, nutrition. About a week ago, we had career night, where people from all different walks of life kind of come in, not every walk of life, but we had probably
a diverse
group of probably 15 or 20 people came in, and you have your little elevator pitch as the kids kind of go around the room. So we have a wonderful our retention rates significantly above the national average. The national average for our mentor and mentees stay together is 45%.
That's
and that
amazing.
Includes kids that want to be mentored.
Yeah.
Our retention rate last year for 1 year was 73%.
Oh,
holy cow. Wow, that's awesome.
That's huge.
So we're very proud of our organization.
Yeah, good on you. Where can people learn more? Is it like boulderoptions.org?
Yeah,
or
boulderoptions.org. And Boulder does not have a U in it. Boulder was founded in Boulder, Colorado by a wonderful woman there named Kim Hills and a judge that was there, and they were kind enough to let it start here, and it didn't take off in Boulder, Colorado the way that it did here, and we were lucky with the Minneapolis JC's Charitable Foundation and with some local funders to be able to kind of continue the mission. So that's how we got to where we're at today.
Well, I know I was telling BT before you got here, I mean, some of the success that I've seen, I mean, let's face it, when I first met you, the building you guys were in was, like a little tiny 1-story building off.
A little dentist office.
Now you guys are off. You got the nice house. You've been expanding to that. You've had a lot of people that have been great benefactors. You had the board where you raised the money. I mean, you guys have done fantastic things. And I think one is you've got the people that are willing to put the commitment in from the financial standpoint, but I think at the same point, the people that are the mentors are really the ones that I have to sometimes say I give the most respect to, because they're the ones taking their time to work with these kids.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to meet some of those guys way back when, but it's like you're saying, here's family, I'm going to go for a period of time, and I'm going to be with this kid and do this, and like you and I had talked about, some of these relationships turn into, obviously, like lifelong relationships.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, we do have. And the mentors are a big deal, and we have probably 350 to 400 of them at any one time. With the kids in our active mentoring program, and then the kids in our alumni leadership network, that's another almost 300 kids. So it's there's a significant amount of mentoring going on at any one time in that mentor relationship. For us, we're asking for more. I think they're part of the reason we have such a high success rate as far as our retention is because of our one-to-one mentoring, and we do it every single week. Most mentoring programs are one time a month, and they're great, I said, but we just said we need to be more intentional about what we do.
Yeah, that regularity really, I'm sure, makes an impression on the kids.
Well, that, and I think you also could miss one meeting if you're doing it once a month. The next thing you know, you don't get together for 2 months.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a week where you miss, and you're going to have a week where you get together 2 times in a row. And I'm sure they have similar, issues in a program that meets 1 time per month. You might meet twice in a month, but we're being very intentional about making sure that we are involved in a young person's life at least 1 time per week over the course of a year, and then they join our alumni leadership network.
That's great.
And then they just, continue along the path.
And they become mentors themselves in many cases.
Become mentors themselves. They lead their kind of healthy lives. And you guys had asked about the story to save for later, and that was at Hardy's Barbecue in Rochester with one of the young men that's become my mentees. And we were sitting down talking, and he's all, proud. He's kind of getting grown. He lives with his girlfriend and has adopted her daughter. And he said at our annual dinner this year that he plans on proposing to his girlfriend or fiance at our annual dinner this year. And he's telling me this at Hardy's Barbecue over a plate of pulled pork and JoJo potatoes.
And some JoJo's?
Yeah. JoJo potato is really, that's one of their specialty. It's thinly sliced potatoes, super quickly fried, and then brought back out. And so you have those with your ketchup and maybe a little bit of hot sauce, and you have yourself a recipe for a basketball-looking stomach.
Works for me.
Eat in moderation. Not at Hardee's. Can't make that happen at Hardee's.
But I'm serious. Every time I drive through there, you just smell it. Oh, it's awesome.
The program is Mortgages and BS with Tom Smith, and yours truly is Wingman and Show Dude Brian Turner. Call me BT. Information, education, and entertainment about the mortgage world, and just some BS, too, like we're doing today with our special guest, Daryl Thompson.
Speaking of BS, did anybody actually watch the fight, the Mayweather fight?
I watched it. It was a good fight.
Well, everything I saw on Twitter made it seem like it was kind of boring. Give me your take.
If you are not a fight fan, it might have been a little bit boring, but if you're a fight fan, it wasn't boring. Mayweather's defense is phenomenal, and that's like he's been trained since he was probably 4 years old to play defense and to not get hit. So, he was trying to bait Pacquiao, so for Pacquiao to be aggressive, come in and make a mistake. Pacquiao didn't really take the bait. Came in a couple times, and so basically Mayweather just outpointed him, outmaneuvered him, and I can't say he toyed with him, but he kind of tried to bait him into taking a couple shots, and Pacquiao's like, I'm not going in there. That's a hornet's nest. He's also pretty. His counterattack is ferocious, Mayweather. So just don't come in there like, hey, howdy doody. He's gonna be bringing it. So it's that's part of it. And I bet Mayweather might be one of the boxers that actually is healthy and talking good when he's 50, 60, and 70 years old because
of that.
He didn't take tremendous blows to the head over and over and lay on the mat and get up, Rocky III.
Well, and I've watched both those guys box, and I think they're both great boxers. And obviously, there's a lot of controversy over different things in regards to Mayweather and stuff like that.
Well, and now Pacquiao with the injury and all of that too, or the alleged
his shoulder
injury
was hurt or something.
Yeah, and there was a class action lawsuit now. Somebody's putting one out there saying, should have been revealed before we spent all this money on tickets or pay-per-view because we should know these things, these truths should be revealed beforehand.
And was it they wouldn't let him take an anti-inflammatory or something like that?
They wouldn't let him do that, right?
So now they're coming back with, is there going to be a second fight? And I think Mayweather said, I've got a match in September. After that, we'll see. So, for the money, I would think they'd do it.
Mayweather's done. He's got enough.
It's all done now. Yeah,
I think he's got 1 or 2 more fights on him at the most. He doesn't need to probably really prove anything else.
Nothing more with Pacquiao, that's for sure.
I don't think Pacquiao's shoulder would have made that much of a difference.
Would have impacted what you saw there.
I don't know. Maybe. But I mean, I'm not an expert. That's just my humble opinion.
I enjoy boxing. We do too, and yeah, we're both just. We talked about this before we got the show started today. It's like, oh, did you see it? No, I didn't even know.
I was trying to find a place
know
to
you
go,
were.
but everybody was saying it was so much money for a cover charge anywhere you went. I just didn't feel like dishing out $100 to watch it.
Yeah, I like both those fighters, but I was a little turned off by the Mayweather story. Beforehand, that kind of made me just. I don't know. I didn't seek it out as actively as I might have otherwise, because I do like both those boxers. Tom, we got to get into a little mortgage action here on the show, because the show is Mortgages and BS. Name above the title. Let's do a mortgage myth real quick here. You must have a down payment worth 20% of the purchase price. Mortgage myth. Yes? No? Yes?
That would be a big no, and that's actually one of my favorites. I've heard that more times than you can imagine. There's loan programs out there for most buyers that you can get into for 3.5%, and obviously for the veterans that are out there, 0%, and for rural housing, 0%.
Okay.
But you can get to a house as little as 3.5%.
Is that right? Is that why does something like that become a myth?
I think
Why is it
it's
so exaggerated?
I think it's mom and dad. Mom and dad might have done it. Their mom and dad told them to do it, and it just gets told down. And that's what people hear. They hear now I've got to have an 800 FICO score and 20% down. And that's just not true. Your average person can easily still buy a home.
Now, obviously, you put a little more down. We know that it's going to reduce that payment too. Of course,
Oh,
you have
obviously.
that going on.
I mean,
it's just simple math there.
And depending upon the loan program, you put more down, it's going to reduce the mortgage insurance. It might improve your interest rate. I mean, there's a variety of things it can do. But first-time buyers right now out there, I mean, with the way things are, I mean, 3.5% down, you can get a house no problem.
Yeah, very good. You did you guys ever work together, or did do stuff together? On the
We did.
mortgage
We
side of
did
things?
some. We did a little bit of mortgage work together.
Did you?
And down in Rochester. That was
Okay.
part of the reason we were going down there. It seemed like once a month or something like that. We were kind of going down there, working on building something up, and didn't quite take off the way we wanted to, but it was a good experience.
I know that you and Ricky Foggy, were played together and went to school together, and Ricky worked for you for a pretty good stretch, didn't he? Or for a stretch?
We can call it work. Yeah, I mean, I think it was more of a Ricky's son or anything. But no, I mean, Ricky's a great guy, and he'd come in, because he was still playing arena football at the time, so his schedule was kind of goofy. But he did it for a while, and I think he did well. But he's got his real passion out there, which again, kids,
Coaching.
sports,
Yeah.
and now he's the head coach for Red Wing down there, coaching football.
Nice. What's new on the mortgage side of things? Since we got together last week, any new trends? Any new things that are popping up?
Big thing this week is everybody's wondering where interest rates are going to go. Of course, nobody ever really knows. We've talked about that. They've crept up a little bit based on what the European markets have been doing. However, we got a reprieve today of the European markets. I think the bashing there is pretty much done. There was some information in regards to payroll today, which was good for the bond markets or interest rate market, not good for the economy. And as a result, they're anticipating tomorrow's unemployment data is probably going to be negative, which is rallying rates to come back down. I mean, rates they hit a 2015 year high the other day. I mean, wow, they were at like 4.25, big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, rates still are at just some obscene lows that you can't make this stuff up. I mean, you've got to take advantage of these rates. If you're building, you're buying, you're refinancing. If you're in a situation where you can lower your payment, take advantage of it.
What's the rate now, Tom?
It varies on the loan program, but most of the rates are in the 3 7/8 to 4.25 range.
Okay.
So they're pretty good. And I know, like, somebody had sent you that one thing. That's one of the things you got to watch out for is, the deceptive advertising. If you're getting something on a refi, I remember you sent me that.
Yeah.
What was that? Explain what it was.
He had gotten something
Just
via
an email.
Yeah, via email
Okay.
about refinancing. What happens is mortgage companies can go out there and they can actually buy lists. And what they do is they buy a list based on certain types of product, and then they'll send out emails and or mailers and make it sound like, hey, you can get this loan. We can refinance you. Boom, boom, boom. And that's what Daryl had gotten, was one of these just basic solicitation type things. It wasn't from his mortgage servicer or anything like that. It was just from a generic company.
Yeah.
So, in many cases, these people they're just trying to get the business in the door. Is all they're trying to do. Again, when you're looking at doing something, work with somebody work with somebody you feel comfortable with. Don't look at the next shiny object out there.
Yeah. And obviously, you turned Tom onto that, and he gave you a little evaluation. And here's
Yeah.
what is this? And do I need this? No.
Although he accused me of being too busy, and what was it? Something about a stripper pole or something was in there too.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't track you down. Right on. I just want an easy, fast, hassle-free refi.
Daryl always does these things where when he sends me an email or message, there's always some goofy thing in the title. And at first when I really didn't know him,
in the subject line.
at first when I didn't really know him, I was like,
Franco Harris.
I was like, what? Yeah, that might have been the first one, Franco Harris.
Like a prank subject line.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he
I
had
love
this
it.
whole body is like, I don't get it. And the first time or two, I'd be like, what is this about? It's like, well, it's just getting your attention. Yeah, well, yeah, he's getting my
Yeah, sure
attention.
did,
I'm
yeah.
saying, Franco Harris, holy cow. But we do that to each other. We'll send each other an email and put something goofy in the subject line. I mean, Daryl and I don't get to see each other as we'd like to, but I mean, we're good friends and stuff. We shared Timberwolves tickets for a couple seasons.
Yeah, like 8 or 9 years probably.
Yeah.
And he eats right BT. This is like my neighborhood, so I eat at Rainbow Chinese over here. This is one of my favorite.
Oh,
restaurants.
in this area where the Alive and Social Network studios are,
where
sure.
you do your work right
Where
here.
we do the podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good joint. That's a really
He turned
good joint.
he turned me on to it, and yeah, I need to get over this way more often again. I haven't been there for a while.
A lot of good food in South Minneapolis.
Absolutely. Oh, and it's just growing. Yeah, my daughter and I do a foodie podcast here on the Alive and Social
Oh,
Network. Foodie Friday.
I'd love to be part of that.
Come join us
got
on that,
I
too.
got some spots around here you might not have been to yet.
Absolutely.
Take
And,
him to Hardee's.
yeah, indeed. We can talk about Hardee's again, but we also like to dig into.
By the way, Hardee's
people's
did not
food.
pay for this advertisement.
Exactly.
But Hardee's, please. I mean, we're looking for sponsors. We like to get into food, backgrounds, first experiences with food, and influences, and whether it was a grandma maybe or grandpa or somebody in your life that just turned you on to food, and so yeah, we'll do that for sure. We'll welcome you on that show. I'd love to have you on that.
Question
show.
for you: who's the cook in your family? You or Stephanie?
Both. I'm the breakfast person, so I
Okay.
do the eggs, all that type of stuff. Of course, bacon. I'm a big bacon person, and then I do smoke things on the grill. So I smoke brisket and ribs and things like that. Brisket's my specialty, and I like it. And people ask me to do it. I got one of my neighbors. He'll see it. And he'll be like, "Hey," and he'll start bringing over drinks, and sit down next to me, and so Steve, I kind of think you're going to be eating over. He goes, "Yeah, and he goes, I'll buy the brisket next time. You just smoke it. and
Just
I'll-
please take care of it for me.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah, so it's all good. Yeah.
I like to ask people, getting back to the mortgage thing real quick here before we're done with the show, and time passes by quickly here. What kind of things have happened in your life? What kind of things have happened around your house because you found a good mortgage person? You got a guy like Tom Smith on your side. Whether it's a kitchen remodel or just a refi that saved you money every month. You share some stories.
Well,
with
I'd
us
probably
that way.
say just the refi saving your money. I mean, that's probably the most important.
Finding
thing,
those better
when you
rates
got-
and what have you?
Yeah, you got 4 kids and they're playing basketball and volleyball, all over the country. And my wife and I, we're in the car with this weekend. We go to Iowa. Next weekend, my wife goes to Madison. I go to Milwaukee.
Sure.
So I mean, you're saving that, $400 or $500 a month. That's a weekend or half a weekend worth.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Well, that's the thing. When somebody refinances, I mean, you can't even take into advantage how much money you can save and how much it builds over time. And like Daryl said, I mean, especially when you're busy parents, stuff like that, it adds up. Might not buy as many groceries as it used to, but it sure does add up, and it helps appreciate that equity so much faster.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's like the journey of any any step. You begin with one, and there you add 2, and 5, you just said $500 a month. I mean, it's $6,000 a year. That's a lot. It's a lot of money.
Oh, no question.
I could do a lot
It's
for
a whole lot of money.
$6,000.
Absolutely, a lot of damage.
I won't
there.
recommend.
I'd like to understand that subject. I'd like to see that in a subject line on an email.
Yeah.
It could be
Well,
a good one.
that is
is
one
the
of
subject.
They use that. So those little phony services. How would you like to save $742 a month? I would love to.
I'm thinking.
Tom, the things you could do with $6,000.
I was thinking that sounds like something with Foggy and a limo, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the limousine every
There
now
you
and
go.
then.
Hey, Daryl, what's around the corner for Boulder Options? I mean, give us a little insight into what's 2015 going to still unfold with the organization.
Well, great question. We actually have our annual dinner coming up here
Nice.
later on this month. May the 28th is a Thursday night. Michelle Tafoya.
Oh, she's
from
wonderful.
Sunday Night Football.
She's awesome.
She's our keynote speaker. Tim McNiff is our master of ceremonies.
Great.
Last year we had about 500 people, so we'd love to have you. Think about coming up, or if someone is interested, they can learn about it at boulderoptions.org, or they can kind of go online, look at, if you Google me or Boulder Options, you can find about the annual dinner and come out and have a great time and support a cause that's helping kids all over the state of Minnesota. Last year, we engaged about 2,800 kids in programming around the state of Minnesota, and this year we're at 1,300 through the first quarter, and our goal, it's about 3,500 this year.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful. Where's the event going to be?
It's going to be at TCF Stadium. Yeah, last
Oh,
year
nice.
Coach Kill was our speaker and knocked it out of the park, and this year we have Michelle Tafoya, and So we're excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds great. BoulderOptions.org for more information about that and any support that you can put behind there. And I'm sure you're always looking for volunteers and people that want to step up and be a part of what you're doing.
Well, volunteers and mentors too.
Yeah.
I mean, we need people to mentor and to volunteer. Just being around the kids, healthy adults, is very, very important.
Very
And
good.
I used to joke about this. I mean, kids are our future, and I shouldn't say I joke about it, but kids are our future. And whatever you can do to help a kid out, I mean, whether it's helping with a book, whatever, what Daryl and his group is doing is awesome. I mean, they're really helping kids out a lot. I think we need to put our faith in today's youth and put our time into today's youth so that they can be our future. As simple as that.
Yeah.
I agree.
It sounds like it's a platitude you hear a lot, but it's absolutely the truth.
And Daryl's one of
Bottom
those
line
ones.
truth.
I mean, he's puts his sweat into it. I mean, I've watched it.
What a pleasure having you here, Daryl.
Thank you very much. So how do I find out about this? How are you guys, the podcast? Did you guys Twitter, Facebook?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you'll find it all over the place. Tom's Twitter account is at OMSI Guy, and I'm at BT Voice, BEETEA Voice. So we'll make sure that you know about it. We'll get your you want to toss your Twitter handle out right now?
My Twitter handle is DThompsonMN.
D Thompson at D Thompson MN.
DThompsonMN.
Sounds good. If you got a question for Tom or I for future shows, Tom's email address is omsiguy@gmail.com. And again, BT Voice, BEETEA Voice @gmail.com. Another edition of Mortgages and BS, and a real special treat to have you here, Daryl Thompson.
Thanks for having me.
Daryl, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining in. We'll see you next week.